The WWE podcast is back, and we have got a lot to discuss, including Jey Uso earning a Universal Championship opportunity against his cousin, Roman Reigns, Randy Orton earning his opportunity against Drew McIntyre at Clash of Champions, and Bayley finally turns on Sasha Banks in an absolutely brilliant way. The release of AOP, and WWE bans third-party applications for its performers. Let's get everything going right now.
Welcome to the WWE Podcast, the most passionate and authentic wrestling analysis on the web. We've got you covered with every Raw, SmackDown, and NXT show, giving you a no bullshit opinion. We know you love wrestling. We do too. So let's get this show underway.
And that's the bottom line. What? Because Stone Cold said so.
All right, guys. Guess what? The WWE podcast is back. It is back at its normal location after, feels like forever. And we're here to discuss so much tonight. So much happening in WWE. And, normally I have a co-host for this show, but I'm still trying to regroup after vacation. As you know, when you come back, it's not as easy to just kind of pick up where you left off, right? There's like 6 loads of laundry. Your groceries are gross sitting in the fridge for a week. So you got to get grocery shopping. You got to reorganize your life and do things that you missed out on for a week. But there is so much to discuss wrestling-wise. So we're going to get to that. And yeah, the extra stuff. What do I mean by that? AOP's release and WWE banning third-party application use for income for their performers. I've got some strong thoughts on that, and I'll open with that in just a minute. But first, I always want to make sure I welcome you guys and welcome new listeners, as we've been getting new listeners over the last few weeks, and I appreciate all of you giving us a try. There are lots of options out there with wrestling, and I'm glad that you guys stuck with us here, and maybe you're new and giving us a try, and I appreciate that. And if you're new, then head on over to the website. Yeah, we have one, www.podcast.com. And we also have a Instagram account at WWE_podcast. I am desperately trying to get back on Twitter. I've appealed my decision like 4 times. They denied me 4 times. But I figured that it can't last forever, right? Can't last forever. And I will be continuing to appeal it until they're just like, oh my God, enough, fine, here's your account back. Right? I'm kind of hoping that they just kind of give up, where they're just tired of denying me, and they just go, fine, and they just unlock my account. So, fingers crossed on that. I wouldn't hold my breath, but right now, our only platform is on Twitter at WWE_podcast. So, hopefully you guys can join us there. If you'd like to DM me or just send us a message or comment on the posts that we put up, it would be a great way to interact with the show. You can also call the show and leave a voicemail. How do you do that? Well, pick up your phone. That's a good start. And then call us at 518-952-0247. That is the number where you can call. It's an unmanned number. Nobody's going to pick up. It just goes to voicemail after, I think, like 3, 4, or 5 rings. And boom, you get to leave a voicemail for the show, and we will play it here, of which I'm going to do right now from Kyle in New York. Let's see what Kyle has to say.
Hey, Matt, it's Kyle from New York. I just wanted to get your opinion on the Bayley heel turn on Sasha Banks. And also, besides your opinion, when do you think their match is going to happen? Everyone's thinking that it's going to be Clash of Champions, but what if they carry this on till Hell in a Cell or even WrestleMania? At Hell in a Cell, it could be a great match. Or maybe like, since Sasha got really beaten up hard by Bayley, what if Sasha's injured, she's out for a few months, and then she returns at the Royal Rumble and maybe wins it, and then challenges Bayley for the SmackDown Women's title at WrestleMania and wins it there? Like, what are your thoughts on what you think is going to happen? Because my thoughts, I think it's going to be a Hell in a Cell, and I think they're going to keep Bayley will retain there, and then they're going to keep feuding till WrestleMania. That's what I think. But I want to know what you think. Yeah, let me know. See you later.
Hey, Kyle. So thanks again for calling in. And Great question. I know I was going to open the show. I said I was going to open the show with the extras of the release of AOP and WWE's ban on the third-party apps. But since this voicemail came up and I wanted to share it with you guys, I'm going to give you my thoughts on this a little bit early. First of all, I like your logic. You are pretty much in lockstep with what I'm thinking is going to happen. Now, logic would dictate that this match would happen at Clash of Champions. The thing is, they have 21 days right now to the Clash of Champions pay-per-view. So 3 weeks, is that enough to recover from what Sasha endured from Bayley, having her leg nearly ripped off and her neck in a chair and all that? Is that enough? Maybe Sasha ends up, I don't know, making her presence felt or trying to compete with Bayley, and Bayley just shuts her down, and Bayley gets, Bayley's championship is never really in jeopardy in that match, and they just have Sasha show heart and that she's going to try to compete no matter what, and she signs a waiver, and she's in a neck brace, but going to try to compete anyway, and she gets a few good shots in on Bayley, but Bayley ultimately ends up beating her down and retaining the belt. So I think that's an option, the one I just laid out there of Sasha trying to compete at Clash of Champions. The other option is exactly what you said. We have Sasha out for a while, right? Out until next month when Hell in a Cell takes place. And that's when we see Sasha next, because the beatdown that we saw on SmackDown was brutal. And I loved it. I loved it. And we are going to probably get an extended absence from Sasha, and having Bayley come out every week and gloat about what she did and how Sasha was the problem and she's the reason that they lost the championship. All of that. And that is absolutely possible, and they meet at Hell in a Cell, of which I think Bayley's going to retain again. The thing is, how many matches start at Hell in a Cell? You don't have too many matches and programs start inside the cell. And this is the problem I have with the Hell in a Cell pay-per-view itself, which is a whole other discussion about how it's just built into the schedule and how much the Hell in a Cell match would actually mean, how much more it would mean, have it not be in the schedule just to be in the schedule. And this, to me, would be like the third or fourth match that they have as the final match. Instead, it would, I guess, assumingly be their first. I'm not a fan of that, but it is deserving of the cell. Let me be very clear about that. This match between Bayley and Sasha is absolutely deserving of the cell. I just don't like the way that it's timed out with the Hell in a Cell pay-per-view. Because even if it's their second match, where Sasha somehow is able to compete and she's just beat down, second match isn't as bad, but it should be the finale in almost every case. But it's deserving of the cell at the same time. I just wish it was built up more and more. We got more foreplay, I guess, is the best way I could describe it. There's no foreplay to this match. It just kind of boom, Bayley turned, Sasha gets beat down, and boom, we're in the cell. Well, why? I'm okay with it. I don't hate it, because this match, this is a program that's been building for a long time. Long time. Many fans didn't expect to last this long. And I don't think WWE expected to last this long, but it was catching fire. It was really fun to watch on TV. They had unexpectedly great chemistry. They captured almost every women's championship outside of the NXT Women's Championship. And they were a staple on almost every show. And they did a great job. But once they captured all the belts, there's only one way to go, and that's down. And they disintegrated very quickly, and WWE did not wait. They didn't wait for COVID to go away and this, everyone's vaccinated and go back to live fans. They just said the hell with it. We're moving forward. That is a very clear message given all the storylines that they have done. The biggest one probably ever of Roman Reigns, on the last few years anyway, of Roman Reigns turning heel. They have sent a very clear message that they're not waiting for fans to come back in person. And I don't blame them. But also, football's coming back. They got to have eyes on their product. They got to have as many eyeballs on the product as possible. Get people talking. Boost the ratings. Get viewers. And try to get back that trust that they lost during COVID with the fans that may have turned away. Or, and maybe you're going, they're in the Amway Center now? They're doing the Thunderdome? What's this about? They got to do big stuff. So I don't blame them at all for what they've done, and that they weren't going to wait any longer for this match or this program to make the big swerve, the big turn of Sasha getting beat down by Bayley, and Bayley playing the really good heel here. So, long answer short, but it kind of covers my thoughts on this at the same time, is that this could go to WrestleMania. It could. You got to remember, WrestleMania is what, like 7 months away? That's a long, that's 2 eternities in wrestling time. So, if this happened like, November, December, I would say, yeah, very good chance this gets rolled all the way to WrestleMania. There is still that chance, but boy, oh boy, I think by the time you get to December, people would be like, oh my God, is this over yet? Fans have no patience. So unless you're not going to see Sasha for months till Christmas time, I don't think they're going to be able to roll it to WrestleMania. I just don't, even though it's WrestleMania worthy. I'll be very, very surprised if they do and able to hold fans' attention. Again, I think what's more likely is either their first match is in the cell, or the feigned attempt by Sasha at the Clash of Champions is their first, and then Hell in a Cell is their second. Either way, Bayley retains through Hell in a Cell, and they probably have a final blow-off at maybe Survivor Series. I think Survivor Series is the destination for these two and their final match. And hell, who knows? Maybe we have live fans in attendance by November, late November. It's possible. It's possible. I mean, I just don't think that 2020 will be gone and we still are talking about Bayley versus Sasha. I just don't. I would try to do it if I were WWE, but fans are very fickle. Fans are very fickle, and they don't have much patience. You roll that together, you're not going to have this program last probably more than 3 months. Oh, and one kind of side note on this program, Michael Cole calling the tag team match between Bayley and Sasha and Nia Jax and Shayna Baszler the greatest tag team championship match ever on the history of this program is laughable. I mean, when he said that, I'm like, who is feeding him these lines? It's got to be Vince McMahon. I know they're trying to build it up because something big's going to happen, and I understand that. But stop it. Stop. It's not the greatest tag team championship match of all time on SmackDown. It's just not. And you're going to say, well, what one was? To which I would say, I don't know, but I can guarantee you over the last 20 years of SmackDown, there was one in there that you go, oh yeah, definitely better. It's just silly. And it's not that he said even the greatest women's tag team match ever on SmackDown. I would have even bought that. But you can't tell me in the history of the Raw or the SmackDown Tag Team Championship, before the brand split, when there was just one Tag Team Championship, that this is the greatest one of all time. What? It's like telling the greatest wrestling match ever. Stop it. It insults fans' intelligence. Just stop it. Anyway, it was a very, very, very good match. I will give all participants credit. I enjoy the hell out of that match on SmackDown. I'm surprised it was not the main event, to be honest, because this could have been, and the build to this turn from Bayley could have easily been the main event and lasting image of SmackDown. And having Bayley, the way she smiled, her viciousness, Bayley turned into the true heel Bayley. Not the kind of annoying, iconic type of just obnoxious Bayley of the blueprint, the standard, all that stuff that's just stupid, but annoyingly stupid, so you hate it. This is like vicious. This is Bayley, evil Bayley. The way that she smiled after she did what she did to Sasha was just brilliant. I loved it. The beatdown kept going. I was hoping it wouldn't just be a couple of kicks and punches, and that they made this memorable, and they did, with what she did to Sasha. How many times do you see the chair wrapped around the neck of somebody? Almost never. Or at least have it actually happen. Not just teased and then they're saved at the last second. Or think better of it. This was great. Yeah, we all saw it coming. Just because it's predictable doesn't mean it's not good. People need to remember that as a wrestling fan. Just because it's predictable doesn't automatically disqualify it as being a good decision or a great execution. So some people want to put predictability as the number one measurement of a storyline, that they want to feel like they're swerved, or they want to feel like, oh my God, no way. Like they want to feel this is unpredictable. And to me, yeah, that's nice. But after 20 plus years of watching wrestling, as many of you maybe are, maybe 10 or more, or 30 or 40 years, who knows? You've almost seen everything, the way that, and especially WWE's way that they present things. You've almost seen every way that they could do it. So unpredictability is something that when it happens, it's a rarity. It's just kind of icing on the cake. It's not something that you go, well, if it's predictable, I don't want it. You just kind of take the reality that sometimes and oftentimes things are going to be predictable. It's just a matter of when and how they do it. That's just the way that, as a wrestling fan, if you've been watching for 10 plus years even, you probably are thinking to yourself, all right, I get it. Let's see how well they do it. I know where they're going. Let's see how well they do it. If you're a younger fan, you're probably like, oh, this is so predictable. It's all predictable. It's predictable. It's predictable. Why is predictability number one? Why does it have to be all the time? Right? Why does it always have to be predictable to be good? Even if it's not the right decision, as long as you didn't see it coming, it's good? No. Okay, I think I beat that to death. All right, so let's get to the other items of the week that are really not about the shows, but don't worry, I got a whole bunch more to talk about there. And that is the release of AOP. I'll start there. The release of AOP really is disheartening to me. Am I surprised? No. I'm sadly not surprised. And people could really try to rake WWE over the coals of how evil of an organization they are, and they don't care about their employees, or they're not even employees, they're independent contractors, that they have no heart. But the fact of the matter is, as an independent contractor, when you sign that contract, you take that risk inherently. You sign that document knowing you could be released at any time. That's what you signed up for. And that's the line of business that these men and women are in. As non-employees of the company, this is the business that they're in. And I'm not saying being a disheartening jerk. It's saying, oh, these people don't have families, who cares? They just take the risk and that's their problem. No. But you also have to take responsibility for the job and line of work that you're in, knowing the risks and rewards that go with the line of work that you're in. So I guess I'm kind of also back talking about the mass release that happened in April. And this is kind of just a follow-up. And that's probably why I'm not super surprised that AOP was released after that just crazy amount of releases that happened in mid-April. I'm just not surprised about it. And that kind of desensitized you from a lot of things that WWE could do in terms of releasing talent. After that happens, it's like the floodgates open. You go, all right, well, what's next? And so AOP kind of just, little AOP gets snuck out the door. But I think it's a big loss. Apparently Paul Heyman had a lot of big plans for them. I believe it. I thought they had big plans for them. Given the storyline they were in with Seth, I predicted many times over the last few months that they would come back and help Seth and beat down Ray and Dominic. And, this has got to be the pay-per-view. This has got to be the week. And it never happened. And I really loved AOP with Seth. I really, really loved it. That was when he first turned into the Monday Night Messiah. He first turned heel. And when they got injured, they just never came back. And I'm really disappointed about it, because I think Seth, really, Murphy's just a weak, I don't want to say he's weak, but he's portrayed as kind of the weak leg of Seth Rollins. He needs a group. If he's the Messiah, he needs disciples. You can't have a single disciple and have your gimmick work. You need to be running a group if you are truly going to be named the Messiah. Right? Think about the religious implications of that. If you're trying to pull on some of that without actually being explicitly religious, you're just kind of implying it, then you need to have disciples. Murphy has been labeled the disciple. Well, he's kind of on the outs with what happened with Seth humiliating him. What about other people, right? What about other people who need an opportunity to shine in the spotlight and get an opportunity to see what they can do, showcase? That's what groups are for. Groups are made to build stars, just as tag teams are made to build stars. So, again, I'm disappointed about AOP. There was no reason given. They just future endeavored them. So I'm sure they'll end up. They look like they would be a perfect fit in AEW, don't they? They just look and scream AEW. Their youth, their style, their presence, all of it to me screams AEW. Which, by the way, small thing, I did watch I did watch highlights of All Out. Matt Hardy getting injured, brutal. Unwatchable. Not in a bad way that I'm embarrassed for him, just I'm fearful for him of the concussion. And people say it's a work. Is it? I don't know. Rewind that and watch that spot with Matt Hardy and Sammy Guevara. Also, the spot with the debuting Matt Sydal, better known as Evan Bourne, tried his shooting star press that just didn't work, and it was a scary moment there, and it was just one of those moments you kind of hold your breath. But I did enjoy the finish of Moxley and MJF, who to me MJF might be the best heel in the entire industry. Period. I mean, WWE otherwise, any promotion across any brand of professional wrestling, MJF to me might just be the best true heel in the company, in the entire business. So, even more so than Randy Orton. That is something I don't say that very lightly or to create buzz, but to me, MJF is a more old school true heel than Randy Orton is at some things. Not as seasoned as Randy, maybe not as good in the ring as Randy, but seems to commit more to his character than does Randy Orton. But hey, that's an argument or a debate to be had at another time. I like the finish. I was hoping MJF would capture the championship because I think there's a lot he can do with it. And now he cannot say that he lost or has not lost a singles competition yet. That's now gone. And it is forever on his record that Jon Moxley beat him. I like the way that it was a band that Jon Moxley had his paradigm shift banned, i.e. Dirty Deeds, banned, but behind the referee's back when he was distracted, boom, hits the paradigm shift, 1, 2, 3, Moxley retains. It was a very, very nice finish. I loved it. Really did. Very, very cool. But I would love to see MJF as a long-term champion. So, all right. Moving down the line here, just a little bit of AEW. I know I have a whole team that covers that, which you can catch them, every Thursday. Every Thursday after AEW Dynamite, which has been kind of popping around different days, but they will cover AEW Dynamite, and they also cover the SmackDown show as well. So, all right, moving down the line here to something else, and it's Roman Reigns. I want to talk a little about Roman Reigns. And boy, you guys know, if you've been sticking with me the last week of doing my quick hits shows, which is all I could really produce, you know that I was very, very frustrated that the Roman Reigns heel turn, something I've been just dying to see happen for years, 6 years, happened the day I left. And I was very frustrated. I say, oh my God. And they followed up very nicely, very subtly. It's a heel turn, but it's not a blatant 180, Roman's a totally different person. It's just, he seems to be angrier, more focused, and a little more selfish than he normally is. He has yet to explain the relationship with Paul Heyman. Paul Heyman came out on SmackDown and said that they felt that they got cast aside by WWE. And that they were essentially in the same boat and found common ground, and Roman Reigns plucked Paul Heyman from obscurity. But Roman has yet to really speak about why. And I don't know if we'll get a full explanation yet, but man, does Roman already feel more comfortable in a heel role or what? Roman already feels like he's at home. He feels like he's at home, and it makes me really kind of sad that of all the missed opportunities over the last 5 to 6 years of what they could have done and when they could have done it and the money they could have made with him as a heel. And I know what people are going to say, what people in the business would say. Well, guess what? If you turn him heel, people would cheer him. Well, maybe, just maybe, if that is the case, and that if that's truly what happens, or if your fear is that's what would happen, if you turned him heel and then people would cheer him, then maybe you don't understand what makes a babyface or a heel. And it's not people being defiant. I cannot say that enough. People don't go to wrestling shows to pay their money that they've earned, to just go along with the fun. They go to wrestling shows because of emotional investment. Real emotional investment. They don't go there to express fake emotion. So that it's just a cool thing to do that even JR, which I strongly disagree with JR on, it's just not true. I think if WWE's fear was to have Roman Reigns turn heel in front of a crowd and then, no, we're not going to do that, just cheer him. Okay, well, number one, if that happens, then you don't understand what makes a babyface or a heel to garner the reaction that you desire from the audience. If you truly don't know, then they will give you the opposite reaction, which is a reflection on you as a company, not them as fans. And number two, if that happens, then guess what? You figured out a formula to keep him babyface by keeping him your traditional thought of what a heel is in your mind. So whatever your thoughts are as a heel in your mind are what makes Roman Reigns a great babyface. So it gets really kind of hard to explain, and I'm trying to keep this as simple as possible, but I hope you guys are following me here. That's what a lot of people in the business always say is, yeah, they're booing him. And Roman Reigns is example number one. Seth Rollins is example number two. But when they turn him heel, people just start cheering him, so why turn him heel? Again, number one, that's a reflection on the company not understanding what makes people boo and cheer. Number two, and really understanding human psychology and what people want to see and what they'll make them cheer and make them boo as real emotion, not just what's doing to be cool. And number two, if that is true and you get that reaction, great, you win again. You know why you win? Because now you figured out the personality to give that guy as a babyface. I don't see the problem here. I don't see the argument against ever turning Roman Reigns heel. Because if you gave Roman Reigns the heel persona 3 years ago, 4 years ago, when you could have easily done it and made him the hottest damn thing in the company, and they cheer him instead of boo him, if they boo him, great, and you got a hot heel. If they cheer him, guess what's going to happen? You take those traits, you don't do a damn thing with them, and you let Roman Reigns keep them. Because now he's your top babyface. Because it just shows that they don't know what makes up a great heel or makes up a great babyface. That's it. Does anybody disagree with me here? There's just no argument against this. So, nonetheless, Paul Heyman, see how I dive deep and then I come back to the surface. So here's where I'm going back to the surface. Paul Heyman, in kind of a quiet promo, really kind of an oddly quiet promo, but it's piped in crowd music or crowd noise. So with piped in crowd noise, you don't hear it when you're actually cutting the promo in an empty arena with no sound, so you talk quieter naturally. But when there's piped in noise in post-production, it kind of drowns out what Paul Heyman's saying because he was talking very quietly. But basically rebranded himself. Paul Heyman rebranded himself as the special counsel to Roman Reigns and played on Roman Reigns' last name to try to cutely put in the, having a reign, what a true champion does is reign, and talked about how a fiend doesn't reign and a monster doesn't reign. A monster, it just does monstrous things. And so Roman also rebranded himself as the tribal chief of his island, really digging into his Samoan heritage. So there was that, and again, the whole interaction with Jey Uso, with Roman being somewhat warm at first, and then kind of turning cold, and Jey talking about how he didn't text him back, and, hey, what's going on? I haven't heard from you. I think this is a nice way to kind of ease Roman Reigns into the heel story and ease him in for a long time. I haven't said this in a long time, but I'm saying it for a different reason than I would have done in the past. And I want to see Roman Reigns a Universal Champion for a very long time. And that seems to be the plan from the rumors I've read. And the rumors tend to be true more often than not now, that Roman Reigns is going to be champion for a long time. Long, long time. What does that mean in wrestling terms? I mean, today's long reign is like 3 months. But maybe it's 6 months to a year. So who knows? I hope it's a long run, and that when we get back in front of people, how do people react? How do, in person, real human beings, red-blooded, warm-blooded human beings react when they see Roman Reigns? I saw a lot of people in the Thunderdome cheering when Roman Reigns came out. I don't know if that translates into real fans. We'll see. Where people, I saw were doing the yes thing when Roman Reigns came out. And I think it's just the yes to WWE of finally, yes, right? But the Jey Uso thing, it's nice to see a new face in the championship picture. How these 4 men earned their opportunity is beyond me. How the hell Matt Riddle, after being on SmackDown for like 6 weeks, is in a championship opportunity scenario is beyond me. Nobody bothered. Never does WWE bother to explain how these people earn these opportunities. Never. I know that Matt Riddle didn't win, but come on. Sheamus deserves to be there. Yes. Absolutely, Sheamus deserves to be there. Even to some extent, King Corbin, I think, did. He's been there long enough that it would, you can make a case, even though he loses every match that he's in, and the King thing is just beyond dead to me. And then they throw in Jey Uso. Well, how was that selected? Roman Reigns, I guess? Or Paul Heyman interjected? Fine. But having Matt Riddle, come on. Really? Is it just to have a babyface to balance out the heels in the match? But, nonetheless, we had Jey Uso win. And this is going to be a nice story to tell. Why? Because Roman Reigns beating down one of his own family members is despicable. It's not going to be about just winning. It's going to do something dastardly to Jey Uso. And that's going to be fun to watch. That's going to be really fun to watch, to see the decline of the Roman Reigns babyface character as we have known it. This is going to be fun. So that's exactly what Jey Uso is there for, is to be exactly what Paul Heyman said is the sacrificial lamb. And Jey Uso is nothing more than a pawn in the progression of Roman Reigns, the heel character. There's no other reason for him to be there. If anyone truly believes that Jey Uso has a shot at the Universal Championship, then I've got a oceanfront property to sell you in Arizona. I mean, seriously. So this is again, the match itself was very good. Jey Uso winning it's nice to see Jey Uso in a singles opportunity. And it's going to be fun to see what Roman Reigns does to him and the reaction to the disastrous things that he's going to do to Jey Uso. All right. Once again, taking a step back, because I thought I mentioned this at the beginning, but I didn't. But the Twitch thing and the third-party app thing, which is what Twitch is, and the, Cameo, which I just figured out what that was last night. I had to download it to figure out what the hell it was. I'm the only one that doesn't know what Cameo was. I've never heard of it. But what Vince McMahon has done is banned WWE stars, wrestlers, I'm not going to call them performers, wrestlers, from earning income and using that platform to generate income under the WWE name that they use. And for those that don't know what Cameo is, if you were like me, Cameo is just an app that celebrities and sports stars use, that if you pay them, that's what this is, it's at its simplest form, you pay them money, book them, and they will give you a shout out or, say happy birthday or whatever. And I know Big E was on there. I think Mick Foley's on there. Some other stars as well, I think from NXT are on Cameo. And Vince McMahon banning wrestlers from using these platforms such as Cameo. So here's the argument for that. Why I think it's actually okay to do. Number one, when you sign that independent contract, WWE owns your name. The trademarks that go with your name, any name that you use under that on-air personality given name, they own the rights to. You don't. They do. So I get that. And Vince McMahon is not getting his slice of the pie by using the trademarked names that they were given by WWE when they're contracted under WWE. So Vince isn't getting and seeing any of that money. And it's basically like his intellectual property is being used without him being the beneficiary of it. So you got to say, from a legal standpoint, he's kind of got ground to stand on. I don't think anyone's going to say anything to him or bring him to a courtroom or anything like that. Legally, Vince McMahon has the right to say this and say, hey, if you want to do this, I mean, you continue to do it, we're just going to basically fire you. And then when we fire you, we'll sue you if you continue to use the name. I mean, so there's just no benefit or upside to any of the stars trying to continue to use that platform with their WWE given name. So from a legal standpoint, guys, WWE is on pretty solid ground, and it sucks for the performer, the wrestlers. But so that's the argument for it. The argument against it would be like, hey, Vince, don't you want to bring brand awareness to WWE? Don't you want to spread the word about WWE? Social media is huge. You know that. WWE's on every social media platform you can think of. And yet you don't want WWE stars to spread the word about what they do, who they are. Maybe you're bringing new eyeballs onto the product. Free of advertising dollars. Hey, why not? Yeah, you're not getting the money, but you're getting the television views, or maybe they're able to boost more eyeballs onto the network or put more eyeballs onto the Raw or SmackDown or NXT product. Why not do it? And it's also good for morale boosting, right? To allow your stars, your wrestlers, to be a little bit entrepreneurs themselves and be able to just build their own brand under yours as kind of a sub-brand. Or maybe split the difference and say, hey, you can continue to do this, but since you are trademarked legally and using a trademarked name, cut us 20, 30%, something like that. I mean, maybe there's a middle ground they'll find eventually. But, and also, again, it boosts morale, and it also allows them to generate extra income. So that's never a bad thing when they're trying to provide for their families. I mean, so there's your argument for and against. I hate to cop out here. I'm kind of in the middle. You know, people might, again, you have no heart. These people have families, blah, blah, blah. But if a legally binding agreement says Vince has the right to do this, then he has the right to do this. I mean, kind of case closed. It may be heartless. You maybe say I'm a heartless SOB, but if they sign the contract again, you know this going in, and Vince can point to, look, section B3 says I can do this, this, and this. And I don't know what to tell you. I know people think I'm heartless, but I don't know. I lean on the side of legality over feelings. You know, like, give me the facts, not the feelings. That's kind of where I would lean on this one. At the same time, I do understand the frustration of other performers, other wrestlers. Jeez, I got to stop saying performers. I'm just watching too much product. But I understand the frustration, I'm sure, from the wrestlers of, hey, I built this. These are my followers. But you're using the WWE name to bring on those followers, right? That's how they followed you, is from the on-air wrestling name that we have trademarked and own the rights to. But, all right. So I wanted to bring that to your attention as well. That's a big thing happening right now. All right. Moving on here. Big E. Speaking of big things, Big E is the other person that was sent to the hospital on SmackDown 2 nights ago, being put through a windshield by Sheamus. Assumingly these two are going to meet at Clash of Champions. that boots Big E out of the Fatal 4-Way for the WWE Universal Championship match, which I think is honestly a smart move. People may say, oh, well, look, Big E is not getting his opportunity. Where is it? Where is it? Where is it? Patience, Grasshopper. Patience. I am still not a fan, and I will continue to not be a fan of the gyrating, pancake-throwing, inside joke, cartoon Big E that has continued to just continue to exist post New Day. I mean, I'm a little bit tired of it. And WWE has been very transparent about bringing that to the forefront. I mean, you heard Corey Graves talk about it. You heard other wrestlers backstage and promos talk about to Big E, like, hey, you got to get serious. So it's as if WWE is acknowledging that the fans are frustrated with the fact that Big E's personality hasn't changed, even in spite of the fact that he is now considered a singles performer. It's as if he's acting like a tag team wrestler, even though he is now branded as a single star. It's like he's left the New Day, but the New Day has not left him. That is what seems to be happening, but they're acknowledging that on air, which tells me that a character change is eventually going to come for Big E. It's just it's kind of, again, it's a little bit of a subtle acknowledgement and wink to fans at home, like, hey, we get it, we hear you, it's coming, and be patient. And I'm on board with that. So I'm frustrated still with the Big E character because it hasn't changed at all. But if indeed they are planning on changing Big E's character a little bit more serious, get rid of the New Day, sophomore garbage, and let's get serious for Big E making a big run, I'm for it. And the fact that he got booted out of the Fatal 4-Way, I think is a good thing. I think it's too much too soon for him to be in that position. All right, and one final thing on SmackDown before I touch a little bit on Raw, because I've already covered Raw in my quick hits to some degree, is Heavy Machinery against Miz and Morrison. I think I'm very I'm very worded up with my feelings on this. I have a lot of words that I'm trying to organize in a coherent way about both teams to be able to express this in an eloquent way that you can understand. And I'm not trying to insult your intelligence. I'm trying not to insult my own, because I'm trying to use my brain at 10:30 at night here to formulate this correctly. And it's not just jibber jabber. Big E. See, can't even talk already. Miz and Morrison have been annoying at best in their kind of just they're just like the hometown tag team of SmackDown, aren't they? They're just always there. You know, they're always just going to be annoying. Morrison's going to make it awkward by trying to cut a promo that he just can't cut. And Morrison just doesn't have it on the mic. I don't know what it is, or if he just hasn't found it, or if he's trying to act something like he's not. Morrison is just weird on the mic. He's not bad. He's just weird. Just weird. So, I don't know. But the Miz out there, I don't know what to make of the Miz, because he's the exact same guy that has been on the roster for 10 years now. He's like, this is the same character that faced John Cena in the main event of WrestleMania 26. I want to say it was WrestleMania 26. The Miz faced John Cena at the main event of WrestleMania, and it's like the same guy. The Miz is, I can't describe it other than saying the Miz is like chewing the same piece of gum for a year. It's just, you liked it at first, and there are times you're like, okay, this is all right, and then it just gets like, all right, I'm done with the Miz. He's the embodiment of, I think, what is wrong with WWE characters. And he's a great talker. He can talk, but I think the Miz just needs time off. I think that's what the Miz needs. The Miz needs to go away, get injured, or feign an injury. I'm not trying to actually say I hope he gets injured. I'm a human being. I understand that. But I think the Miz just needs to go away for a while. There's nothing new with The Miz. It's the same Miz TV segments that are poorly written. He has nothing new to offer. He's just there. And Morrison is along for the ride because they were a tag team before Morrison left. There's just nothing. They're just a generic heel tag team. And you have Otis and Tucker on the other side. Had Otis not been pulled from WWE's or Vince McMahon's obsession of trying to make him into a comedy act, this could have been a big run for Heavy Machinery. They could have had a massive run as tag team champions. And instead, again, Vince saw the humor in Otis about him and his big, roly-poly belly, and Vince continues to have him trot out there in a preteen tank top and thinking that it's funny, and him doing the caterpillar and all these things and saying, "Ooh, yeah." And I have nothing for Otis. To me, I have turned completely on Otis. Completely. From endearing and exciting and star of the team to just kind of... I groan when I see Otis now. I groan. Because he was the Vince McMahon experiment. And the Vince McMahon project, I should say. Not really experiment, but the Vince McMahon project that he took personal interest in for months. And we go, oh, here we go. And they just can't get over the fact that he loves to eat food, and he has sandwiches, and he has big strombolis and milkshakes, and had to have him stop in the middle of the Money in the Bank and go to the deli and get a sandwich. I mean, I'm so sour on Otis. It's actually kind of sad of what they've done to the character, because that team could have been something really good. And they're trying to maybe just... They've clearly pulled back. They've clearly pulled back on what they've originally were doing with Otis. And yeah, he's the Money in the Bank briefcase holder, which I hope just gets cashed in and he loses. I mean, I just do. I hate to be so sour on these two teams, but they've ruined one team, and the other team feels like it's just... Again, you're eating the same meal for 6 to 12 months over and over and over. All right. Last thing is the heels that we saw, the legs with the heels. I don't know who the heck that could be. I have nothing to say other than that. No idea. All right. Moving on to Raw, touching on it a little bit. Randy Orton winning and going on to face Drew McIntyre at Clash of Champions. Predictable. Again, go back. Predictability is not bad if it's the right thing. And having him face Drew McIntyre is really the only option there. And protecting Keith Lee by not having him get pinned makes total sense, although taking the RKO. I still would not have had Randy lose the way that he did at Payback. Made no sense to me. In really a no-build match with no consequences, to have Keith Lee win, blow off a lot of the heat of Randy Orton, and then boom, they're trying to get his heat back, and it just made no sense to me. But Keith Lee, we all know how good he is. We all know what kind of athlete he is. We all know how good he is on the mic. Keith Lee is going to be a big deal. I'm excited for what they're going to do with Keith Lee. I hope they understand what made him work in NXT and translate that into the main product. Which, it's a really interesting dynamic, right? You have NXT, which is viewed as the breeding grounds for Raw and SmackDown. And Raw and SmackDown are still the bigger shows in terms of star power, in terms of ratings. So the third brand of NXT, which is exactly what they are, they're a legitimate third brand, is still kind of the redhead stepchild of the group. And maybe that'll change one day. But people go to NXT to understand how to build their characters. They have promo rooms. They go to wrestle and learn the WWE style, or unlearn what they've learned and relearn the WWE style. They are there to get injected with WWE isms and their liking to things and how to present yourself. And they do it, and it works in NXT, and it gets super over. And then it gets to the main roster, and it gets convoluted, or it gets adjusted, and it's like, well, wait a minute. If this thing worked in NXT, Why are we trying to fix something that's not broken? Why am I being told by WWE to do one thing and it works and it gets over, and then at another brand they're telling me to do something else? Wait, that's what I thought I was in WWE NXT for, is to learn how to do this and that and get over, and then they're changing it on me? It really makes no sense. It's just, I think, as I said in my previous shows, that it's Vince McMahon and his need to put his fingerprint on everything that comes onto the main roster so he can say, hey, no, look what I did. I improved what you did. No, you didn't. I think many people would agree with what he did with Keith Lee on his debut was not an improvement. And even if it doesn't need to be fixed, Vince will find a way to fix something that doesn't need to be fixed. I really just think he needs, because Raw and SmackDown, especially Raw, is his baby. And he doesn't want somebody else's idea. I really believe this, and this is not fact, this is my opinion. That's what this show's all about, is opinion. That Vince doesn't want somebody's idea getting over on his show and on his platform. He wants to feel like it was his idea under his creative direction that got this over. So even if it doesn't need to be adjusted, he's going to adjust it for the sake of adjusting it so he can say he's the one that was responsible for the credit. That's just my thought. I'm not trying to be super down on Vince. It just seems like something very Vince to do. And we've seen evidence of it with Keith Lee, among others. So, Kevin Owens and Aleister Black, really looking forward to that program. Kevin Owens gets kicked again this past week. In my Raw review, you kind of heard that. I'm very interested to see where that goes. With Sasha and Bayley no longer on Monday Night Raw, I wonder if they still will show up. I'm switching to the women's division here, obviously. I wonder if they'll still show up just to show up and no explanation is required, because why bother at this point? But maybe we have those two just live on SmackDown and have the Raw roster breathe for once. So I'm interested to see what happens with the women's division on Raw, especially with Nia Jax and Shayna Baszler as tag team partners. I don't know what they're supposed to be. Are they heels? Are they baby faces? We don't know. I have a real problem in my brain cheering for them, because I don't like either one, especially Nia Jax. Shayna Baszler, maybe at some point she's kind of like the legit badass. We know her credentials. But Nia Jax, I'm not a fan of on a lot of levels. Performer-wise, wrestler-wise, I'm not talking about maybe like personally, but as a wrestler, not a big fan. So that is kind of my weekend review, guys. I know that typically this is a longer show, 2 hours sometimes, but I want to give this to you as kind of a, hey, we're back. We are back. I want to say we're better than ever, because I don't know why that just kind of goes with usually that sentence. It's like what precedes that sentence of saying we're back and we're better than ever. But I guess we are. No, I know we are. And we're going to have a big week with my Raw review tomorrow night, my Wrestling Nostalgia Wednesday night, and the rest of the schedule speaks for itself. The NXT, AEW, WWE Rivalries, your HSP SmackDown podcast review on Saturday. So a big lineup coming your way, trying to also dive into getting more interviews, working on getting more interviews, because I think those are fun to do. And if you didn't hear it, Chris Van Vliet, I did him a couple weeks ago with an interview, and I'm also on the Botch Guys podcast, or the Botch Guys YouTube channel. And if you haven't already subscribed to him, go to YouTube and subscribe to the Botch Guy, one of the fastest growing wrestling YouTube channels that exists right now. We did a Raw review the night after SummerSlam, so check that out. All right, well, I think that does it for me, as I am really starting to fade away here. The vacation and the unpacking and everything else, organizing my life, is certainly catching up to me. So, guys, thank you so much for listening. Again, head on over to the website at www.podcast.com. Go to Apple Podcasts, subscribe, leave us a 5-star rating and review if you have a moment. It really, truly does help out the show. So, until then, guys, I'll talk to you soon.